Concentration is also extremely important because if you do not concentrate, you learn nothing. Honestly, there are people who don't concentrate, who sit in the classes and listen and learn nothing. As I give you example, 13th Dalai Lama gave 2-month long or month long Lamrim teaching, and one guy learned only his district belongs to one of those, or his county belongs to one of that district, and that has nothing to do with Lamrim, right? So if you become that aware, then it is not. So the principle, we base it on Buddhism. Whether we are promoting Buddhism or not, we base it on Buddhism. If we are not based on Buddhism, how can we promote feminine Buddhism? Feminine Buddhism has to be Buddhist. We are based on Buddhism. And because every information that you received from me for the last 30 years, 3 decades, are based on Buddhism and that of Tibetan Buddhism. So it is a Four Noble Truths as a basic principle. So whatever you learn, if you don't learn, you cannot meditate. If you cannot analyze, you cannot understand if you don't learn it. Learning is important. I told you 4 reliables, remember? 4 reliables. Do not depend on the charismatic of the speaker, but depend on the message. 1. 2. Do not rely on word, but rely on the meaning. And 3rd, do not rely on understanding, but rely on the wisdom. And then 4th one, I forgot. Can you help me? Huh? Interpretable, yes. So do not rely on the interpretable teachings and rely on straightforward explanations. So paying attention is on the basis of these 4 reliabilities. Number 1, you have to listen it. You have to focus. If you do not focus, you're not going to get the message. The message will fly in the air, and you're around there. It bypass you, and you don't get it. Just like kids who do not know how to focus have a very limited capability of learning. So you really have to focus. Learning focus is learning concentration. Then focus is becoming better, stronger, and more stable, and more stick to the point, and it becomes concentration. That concentration becomes meditation. We talk about shamatha, shine, or shamatha. But shamatha, shine, without concentration, without focusing, there won't be shamatha, shine. We talk about beautiful feelings of physical and mental and a stable mind and all those. Where is that going to come from? That's going to come from shamatha. Shamatha is going to come from concentration. Concentration is going to come from focusing. Focusing is going to come from how you learn how to focus. Because mind is such very often they give you example of a monkey in the temple. If you have a monkey in the temple, it will jump from shoulder to shoulder of the images, knock down the butter lamp, knock down the water offerings, and eat up those food offerings, knock down the baking bowl filled up with the fruit, and cut every fruit, bite, throw them out, do that. That's what monkeys do, right? So our mind is like a monkey in the temple of our body. So does all that. Do not focus. Touch this, throw that out, bite that, throw that out, jump over there. Can't sit down. Can't sit down, can't focus. Can't focus, can't sit down, jumping around, all that. That's what the mind do. So you have to learn how to focus. You have to learn how to listen. I'm sure every kids know how to listen because the parents will teach them. Parents will teach them, and there is a natural quality too. There is two types of quality. Quality that you learn and pick up, quality that you brought up with your previous life. So most of us have a great, quite a good quality that brought with us. Some don't. Some has to really learn how to listen, how to focus, how to think about it. Some do. But you people don't, because you went through the school, the Western education. That really taught you. And beside that, all of you are sensible, very good, educated, wonderful people. So you know how to listen. But the only matter of managing your mind within your body. You manage your mind. Don't let your mind manage. I remember once I was talking, giving a lecture for FPMT in Hong Kong Peninsula Hotel. Actually, it's Kowloon Peninsula Hotel. And there's a lot of people, and there was a guy sitting on the chair behind the back somewhere, got up, raised his hand, and said, "You said no attachment. What do I do with my Rolls Royce?" He said, "I got a couple of Rolls Royce. What do I do with that?" I said, "As long as you drive the Rolls Royce, you're fine. The moment the Rolls Royce drives you, you're in trouble." That's what I said. It's true. As long as you manage your mind, you're fine. The moment you manage to push you like a monkey up and down, then you're in trouble. So learning concentration, learning focusing is your biggest challenge. Your biggest challenge. Sitting is not so much a challenge. You sit or you don't sit, doesn't matter. But you have to learn how to think. If you can focus 10 seconds, you learn much more than unfocused 1 hour class. Honestly, if you focus 10 seconds, you learn much more. You make a big difference in you. That's how concentration does. Honestly. And those of you who are parents, you know how you have to teach your kids how to think, how to focus. So you know better than you're not being parents. Because you have to teach others how to think. So if you don't know how to think, how are you going to teach others how to think? You can't. Right? Right, Tim? Right. So the parents will tell you. And that is how it is. Parents knows how to teach children how to think, how to put their mind. Likewise, then you know how to do that. So all of you are great. You went through school. You went through college. Each one of you carried degrees. So you don't get a degree without thinking. Without thinking. And I got shocked when I learned the Tibetan schools in India don't teach how to think, and they will also almost teach even the exams on blackboard and memorize, and everything memorized, and they get through by memorizing everything, which is somehow the Indian government try to look other way around. So because we are not catching up the education, honestly. So they very kindly look other way around as a minority priority. They do in India. Also, India is great. If you are minority, and your 50% is your passing. If you are majority, 70% is your passing mark. So there's a big, huge difference there. So that's why I learned some of the Tibetan schools don't learn, and they only learn the exam and memorize them, and they get through. So that is very exceptional thing. But at the end, we are the loser because though you may get a degree, but you don't have education. You got a piece of paper that says you pass through, but you don't have education. Education is something goes into your mind, and it's just a quality and a formation of quality and the character within the individual. So these are the result of learning, concentration. So when you are talking about the concentration, before you even talk about shamatha, meditation, and all that, you have to talk about focusing and learning. Focusing. Honestly, that is very, very important. Without which you get nowhere. As I say, morality is important. That is understandable to everybody. But when I say focusing is important, people will think, really, I don't want to. I would like to touch whatever I want to touch. Like, the Ginsberg's poetry. If you read through, I won't repeat. So that's true, but that is also done with focus, with concentration. Knowing Ginsberg, he does everything for focusing. Meditation is a big deal for Ginsberg. Honestly, big deal for Ginsberg. And he experiments everything for focusing, concentration. Even sex was experienced for writing poetry. That's what he does. He says he have a sex and the paper on the table where he reads, and while having sex he writes his poetry. Experiment, because using that time for focusing and learning and expression. And that's where the chocolate toe comes out. Nah. So anyway, that's really what it is. And it is, if you look at those great people, what do you call it? I can't call it forefathers, but those pioneers, all of them look at those people like Ginsberg, as well as William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, and all of those people try to focus, show people how to focus, how to manage. Ramdas too. All of those earlier teachers, though I was surprised to learn from Amy Hertz that Larry Billion told Amy that either compassion or wisdom. It must be right because a lot of the people who engage, previous people who engage in contemplative work, they only deal with the compassion activities, compassion activities. So contemplative is almost used as a compassion activities, which is not really right. The wisdom must be used together. I was very surprised to learn to say either or. So that is not right. Without wisdom, there won't be. It's like other activities are like blind, according to great Indian Mahapandit Chandrakirti. Milo Milo Mibumeva Chawatagani, Lamia Misha, Tongjinju, Kalani, Shiromana, Mimeparo, Ching, and Mibumeva Chanju River Numi. When they talk about 6 parameters, perfections, wisdom perfections like I, leading all other 5 activities in the right direction. So it will be like a blind leading blind. Without wisdom, that's what happens. So anyway, all of you are great. Oh, no matter whatever, you may not learn anything from me, but at least you heard wisdom and the compassion has to go shoulder by shoulder, side by side, oneness, like 2 wings of a bird. Remember? Kunzu tini shoyan karbo jejuba. So like the bird has to cross the ocean, has to have 2 wings. So you remember that. So at least you know that. And that will be our, if it is all one or the other, this will be our revolution to the contemplative world, our contribution, revolution in the contemplative activity world, to have both together, not either or. Either or. So some people may think it is you cannot focus 2. One focus on 1, it will be stronger. Well, that's your choice. But in order to achieve your thing, you need both.